What is up? It is Maximus MMA, bringing you my UFC 330 Makhachev against Machado Garry, whatever the hell predictions here. Look, you guys might be able to tell I'm in a different spot. The lights are brighter. It's only up from here. And man, I'm really excited. I'm actually in Florida now. Just got back, so just different things going on with the channel. And damn, I'm looking good. Alright, that's your girl calling, bro. She gonna have to wait her turn. But yeah, as you can tell, I'm looking good. I'm feeling good. And let's just get straight to it, man. Starting off the card with the main event, right? We want to get right to the main event, okay? It's kind of a top-heavy card, so we're going to start here. Look, Islam Makhachev taking on Ian Machado Garry. That's how he's listed, okay? Don't ask me to verify that. Look. Obviously, Islam Makhachev on the verge of GOAT status, right? I mean, look, even if he's married to his cousin, he knows how to fight, right? And he's got that word that starts with an I, kind of special strength, right? Where for whatever reason, right? These guys from that region, their grip strength is pretty much next level. And look, I'm obviously memeing, but Makhachev, probably the best MMA grappler in the entire sport. Right, does a great job of entering on takedowns. He can grapple in the clinch. Once he gets you on the ground, he's very dangerous with front chokes, things of that nature. And a really underrated game of Makhachev's, underrated part of Makhachev's game, is that he is a great striker. Right, I mean, you think of these Dagestan guys like, oh, he's wrestle or bust, essentially. Makhachev is not that, man. You don't head kick Volkanovski, albeit a fat Volkanovski. Beat up Poirier the way he did in a fight that he won all 4 rounds and then submitted him in the 5th, I believe. And then obviously Moicano was kind of a gimme, but submits him with the Darce as well. And then, of course, just recently kind of laid on Jack Della Maddalena to conquer the welterweight belt. He's making that first defense against Ian Machado Garry, who is a bit of a cornball, but he is a good striker. Now, on the ground, he's all right. Obviously, you're not going to get to this level if you're just a complete wash on the ground. I guess you kind of take that back because JDM looked terrible. So I don't expect Machado to look like that on the ground. Machado Garry, he's all right on the ground, but typically he's trying to stay on the feet and kick at range, and he's really a point fighter, right? Like, Ian Machado Garry is not the kind of guy who's going in there thinking, okay, I'm going to get this guy out of here. He's thinking, how can I win a decision, right? And again, knockouts can come naturally. They did against lower-level competition, but as you can see, as I just hover over these matchups, the KOs have not been coming, right? That is something that kind of worries me for Ian Garry in this fight, because sure, he could fluke a KO against Islam. I mean, if he lands the head kick, that is what Makhachev has to be most careful with, I believe. It's not really a controversial take, but the head kick off the brakes, and then also the kind of oblique stomps from Ian Garry. I'm sure he's going to throw probably 20 or 30 kicks, depending on how long this fight goes, to the inside of the knee and outside of the knee of Makhachev, looking to cause some damage. So if one of those tweaks Makhachev's knee, right, we might be getting Layla holding the belt, all right? But I don't want to live in that world, man. I can't believe I'm rooting for the Muslim, but I really am going to be on Saturday night. And I'm pretty confident that Makhachev's going to get the job done. I just think that if you're going to beat Makhachev, I think you got to have a little bit more danger on the feet, especially with the punches, because I just don't see Makhachev making a mistake and having a mental relapse and allowing Garry to head kick him. And outside of that, I mean, do I really think that Ian Garry's going to be able to dance around and just stomp, throw stomps at range against Islam Makhachev? Not really, man. Islam Makhachev is obviously so well coached with Khabib and that whole team. Obviously, if I know that's what Ian Machado Garry has to do, they've known it longer than me and have a real plan to get over that. And look, when the guy you're game planning for is Islam Makhachev, a guy that's so well-rounded, so experienced, kind of has done that, been there, done that, I'm going to trust in Islam Makhachev, the pound-for-pound number 1, to get the job done over Ian Garry and successfully defend the welterweight belt for the first time. Then we've got, in the co-main, we've got a women's fight. I feel like it's been a while since we've had a women fight in such a high spot, but it is for the strawweight belt. We've got McKenzie Dern defending against Gillian Robertson. Now, McKenzie Dern most recently won the belt against Verna Jandiroba, which was a rematch, and Dern now is 2-0 against Verna. McKenzie Dern is like weird because if you saw her fighting like after the Jessica Andrade lost, like basically 2.5 years ago, right? You'd be like, bro, this girl's ass. Like she's doing nothing in this sport. But then it's women's MMA, right? So like Wei Li left the division, right? Kind of really opened things up. And look, Dern finds herself in a title shot after beating Amanda Hebos. And, and gets a win over Jandiroba. McKenzie Dern's gotten better. I mean, she is decently aggressive on the feet, but the technique goes completely out the window. And, obviously a very good jiu-jitsu specialist on the ground. But Gillian Robertson is a specialist on the ground as well. And honestly, I've been picking Gillian Robertson in, like, every fight she's had, starting with the Michelle Waterson fight. I didn't even know she hyphenated her name now. Maybe it was always that way. Anyways, not to get too sidetracked, but yeah, man, I'm a Gillian Robertson believer, to be honest. Like, she's just really good at employing what she wants to do, and that is get in top position and land strikes. And she's obviously, as you can tell, been able to do that. I was extremely confident in her to beat Amanda Lemos because I know that Amanda Lemos is pretty much bankrupt on her back. Now, McKenzie Dern isn't. This is where it's kind of interesting because I think a lot of this fight is going to be decided on what is more effective. McKenzie Dern's kind of reckless abandonment, just willing to get into the fire, or Gillian Robertson being able to catch her and consistently tag her coming in with a jab. Because Gillian Robertson, albeit not the best on the feet, for women's MMA, she actually has a decent jab. And McKenzie Dern, again, like outside of just being aggressive and willing to take a punch to give a punch, which I got to give her credit. She's tough, and you don't see that a lot in women's MMA. Some girls, not all, but some are scared to get hit. McKenzie Dern's not scared to get hit. So that's why this fight, I am so torn on it, genuinely. Like, because I kind of think I want to pick Gillian Robertson so bad. But for some reason, I just have a feeling that McKenzie Dern's going to win. So I'm going to pick McKenzie Dern as a super, like, honestly, this is a flip a coin fight in my opinion. So I don't think that Gillian Robertson's a bad shot at a dog potentially. But there's just something telling me that the UFC wants to keep Dern as champ. Again, Gillian Robertson kind of deserves a title shot, but I don't know. Something's telling me, man, that the UFC made this fight because they think that Dern can win. And I also don't really see Gillian Robertson just like peppering her with jabs in the back foot. Like when I talked about Robertson's jab, it's a very front-footed jab. And it's hard to believe that she's going to be on the front foot for sustained time in this fight unless she does sting Dern, which, I mean, who is Gillian Robertson really stung on the feet? So I'm going to go with McKenzie Dern. Then we've got a really fire fight with Jalin Turner against Kaue Fernandes. Are my eyes deceiving me? Okay, apparently they moved this fight up the card, which makes sense because this is like a hardcore fight here with Jalin Turner making a second comeback after retiring against Bajo Mendez, where, of course, most recently he did beat an old man, Edson Barbosa, kind of just smoked him in the first round. Look, they wanted to give Jalin Turner a layup. Again, no disrespect to Edson Barbosa. He's 40 years old now, so he's a layup in his current form so that Jalin didn't kill himself, right? Like, I don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling the truth, right? Now, Kaue Fernandes is a guy who's been on a really nice hot streak in the UFC against Muhammad Yahya, who's kind of ass, and then Guram Kutaladze. He had a decent amount of hype at the time, and he's not in the UFC anymore, but Kaue Fernandes then schooled Harry Hardwick on the feet with calf kicks. So this is where it's interesting, because Kaue Fernandes is an elite kicker. Like, he is so nasty with the leg kicks, and Jalin Turner is used to being the bigger guy. But as you can see, we have a pretty big height discrepancy. According to Tapology, 6 inches. I don't know if it's actually that wide when they're going to be in the octagon. But Jalin Turner is obviously at 6'3", going to be taller than 98% of guys at lightweight. But that reach, that's not too big, only 2.5. If Kaue Fernandes can find a way to establish his leg kicks early, I think he can win this fight. This is where I'm torn because Kaue Fernandes, I like him. I like how he looks recently. And I think he has the tools to beat a guy like Turner. But the competition jump here is huge. I mean, to go from Harry Hardwick to Jalin Turner, who realistically is only 31. Obviously, he retired. But I want to believe that Jalin Turner believes in himself now. And usually I'm like of the idea, like when somebody like quits, man, they're done. But I really think that the UFC did him a huge favor by letting him knock out Edson Barboza to be like, look, man, here's probably 100, 150, 200K, not to pocket watch him, right? But you probably got a decent paycheck from that fight. You got a lot left to give this sport. And maybe that reinvigorates him. I know he has children. So I'm going to pick Jalin Turner via child support. No, I'm kidding. He might actually still be married to her. I know nothing about his love life other than he has kids. But, yeah, man, this is like, I know Kaue Fernandes is such a popular underdog here. I mean, I feel like on the videos, and other people I like to watch that follow MMA a lot more are picking Fernandes in 33%, but I'm going to go with Jalin Turner. And I'm torn on this one. Again, these last two fights, like I'm so torn because to me, they're very 50-50 fights. But something's telling me, again, that Jalin Turner is going to get it done. I just like the power advantage he's going to have. And typically, I don't like to back people that are kind of like quitters. So I definitely would not really like back him with full confidence. But for the sake of the pick, I am going to pick Jalin Turner. But if you're talking about putting money on a guy who we know is a quitter, pick up the phone, okay, and call the helpline. You got an issue, brother. Then we've got Mansur Abdul Malik against Dustin Stoltzfus. Look, this is on paper going to be a squash match, right? Mansur Abdul Malik was in the UFC off the Contender Series, and he kind of got babied, right? He beat up Dusko Todorovic, who just got destroyed by Valentin. He beat up Nick Klein, who's a bum. He beat Cody Brundage, but then that was turned over to a draw because I believe it was like an eye poke or something of that nature, but a fight that he was a huge favorite to win, basically via being a superior athlete. And then he beat Tricoli, who might have been the worst fighter in the UFC as of 8 months ago. Before him, it was Lucas Brzeski. Ball knowers know who that is. But yeah, man, and then he got fed to Yusri Belgori. And I remember when that fight was made, I was like, bro, like, did Mansur Abdul Malik, like, hit on, like, Dana White's wife or something? Like, what is the switch up? Like, to go from Tricoli to Yusri Belgori was like, holy shit. And look, Yusri Belgori beat the piss out of him. Stoltzfus is not Yusri Belgori, though. And Stoltzfus is a guy who's obviously been, you can see some red here, a little bit of a tough run. He beat Punahele Soriano before he went on a decent run. And then he lost to Bruno Ferreira via just kind of power advantage. He beat Marc-Andre Barriol, who is a decent fighter but loses a lot. And then he lost to Ruzaboyev and then Kelvin Gastelum. So, look, if you're losing to Kelvin Gastelum, okay, last year in late 2025, I have to pick Mansur Abdul Malik at 28, 29 years old against you. Dustin Stoltzfus is, like, tricky, but it just seems like the kind of guy that Mansur Abdul Malik is going to get out of there. I would expect a finish. I also do know that the gym that Mansur Abdul trains at, Dustin Stoltzfus trained there for many years, so you've got to think that the team's going to have a good game plan. They know what Dustin's good at. And look, at 35 years old almost, the cat's out of the bag, right? Like, we know who Dustin Stoltzfus is. He's not going to come in there and show some new ripple to his game. Or Mansur Abdul Malik is a great athlete, should have a huge power advantage on the feet, and realistically should be able to have success in grappling situations. So give me Mansur Abdul Malik to win this fight, probably by KO. But pretty confident pick, but I mean, he's a huge favorite. And then we've got Edson Barbosa taking on Esteban Ribovics. Look, we just talked about it, all right? Edson Barbosa is officially, I don't even know his nickname. He should be Edson Senior Barbosa, okay? Because he's about to qualify for a senior discount at the Waffle House when he wakes up Sundays. Maybe you should go take advantage of that because I'm expecting him to be hurt when he wakes up. Bring an ice pack to Waffle House, man. Hop on that senior discount. Get yourself an omelet or some shit, Edson, because look, Esteban Ribovics, do I think that he's special? No. But Esteban Ribovics is tough, and he's going to make it a dogfight. You're going to get hit. Like, that's it. And obviously, it's an MMA fight, you're going to get hit. Against Esteban Ribovics, bro, you're going to get hit. Like, that's just how this goes. So, like, unless you have, like, the ability to dog out just dog it out against Ribovics, you're going to struggle, man. And I can't take a 40.5 senior discount at Waffle House, Edson Barbosa Sr., to beat a 30-year-old Esteban Ribovics who, yes, was coming off a loss to Mateusz Gamrot, but that was largely via grappling. And Gamrot is, even though he just lost to Killian Salkild, right? Like, he's just on a different level at this stage of their careers. Maybe prime Edson Barbosa, this would be different. But yeah, man, even though I don't think Ribovics is that great, you just have to pick him to beat a 40.5-year-old Edson Senior Barbosa. Like, come on now. So give me Esteban Ribovics, likely by KO. Not because Ribovics is the biggest power puncher, but I just can't see Barbosa taking sustained damage. And honestly, we don't need to see that. Then we've got Chidi Bang Bang and Njokuani against Joel Alvarez. Look, Chidi and Njokuani has been on a little bit of a tough streak with Carlos Leal kind of bullying him a little bit in a back-and-forth fight, but a fight that he was a step behind, and then Jake Matthews literally just climbed his back and choked him out pretty easily. Before that, though, he did have a nice knee up the middle against Alicios Zaleski dos Santos, and he got some hype back because he was on a decent streak at that point, albeit against guys who are not in the UFC anymore, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure Jared Gooden's been out. But, now he's taking on Joel Alvarez, who was on an absolute murderer's row streak against, again, guys that aren't great, but, he really just eye test of Joel Alvarez is very much there. And the only red flags on Joel Alvarez recently, I feel like, are the Vicente Luque fight. Look, he should have finished him. That made no sense. Honestly, I think that was, I'm not even, again, allegedly, supposedly, in my opinion, dude, I think there might have been some sort of, Brazilian mob involved in that fight, because Joel Alvarez had every opportunity to finish Vicente Luque, who was literally, basically begging, please just get me out of here, and, he just wouldn't do it. So, I don't know, very weird. That was kind of odd. And he follows that up with a loss to Yaroslav Amosov, but if you know anything about the MMA community, everybody's talking about Amosov like he's the next shoe-in champ, and he would have a real chance against Makhachev, which maybe that'd be a competitive fight we see down the road. Who knows? But we got to get there first. So, point is, I got to go with Joel Alvarez here, mostly because the eye test looked great up until 10 months ago, and then the fight after, right? So there is a little bit of an asterisk there. But if we just look at the eye test, man, recently, Chidi Njokuani has not been bang bang. He's been wait. He just looks gun shy. Carlos Leal is a little bit of a chode and just kind of walks you down. And yes, these guys are going to be more similar height, so it's a different frame matchup. But he just looked ready to be okay, Carlos, throw a bomb and I'll cover up, instead of really being let me go first, right? Or, okay, here comes a bomb. I'm ripping combinations as soon as that bomb, gets thrown. It was more give me one and I'll throw something lesser back. I don't like that against a guy like Joel Alvarez, who, again, if we erase 2025 from our mind, right, or 2026, sorry, and the end of 2025, Joel Alvarez would be a minus 600 favorite here. So I'm going to pick Joel Alvarez and assume that the Mafia does not have his number this time, and he's going to go out there and probably going to finish. KO or sub, it's hard to tell because I could see a club and sub, and it looks like most people are picking finish. But, yeah, give me Joel Alvarez to win outside of a fluke KO that maybe is possible, but we haven't seen it in a decent amount of time from Chidi, Wait, and Njokuani. And then we've got, look, thank God, man, we got my boy Charles Johnson getting a short notice replacement against Eduardo Henrique. Look, I believe that, Charles Johnson was fighting Jose Ochoa. That was a fight where it was bro, he's probably going to get smoked, and I like Charles Johnson a lot. I don't want to see that. So I'm definitely going to pick Charles Johnson to get a win here against Eduardo Henrique. Look, Charles Johnson's a guy who's pretty well-rounded. He's going to have that goofy-ass hair. He is kind of slowing down right now, and there are some red flags on his record. Got destroyed by Oscar Mabayev not too long ago. Bruno Silva was a guy that realistically should have beat much easier than he did. Alex Perez KO'd him in kind of his okay, let's find out fight. Maybe you can actually be a title contender. He got sent back. Of course, the KO against Lawler Kavanaugh looks good. He KO'd Joshua Van as well, but then he lost to Ramazan Temirov, which we're not going to fault that too much because he was on steroids, and Temirov, supposedly off the steroids, still looks really good. KO'd Steve Erceg relatively easily, so Yeah, man, I'm going to believe in Charles Johnson against Eduardo Henrique because Henrique was on the Contender Series week 4, I believe, 2025 with Tommy McMillan. So a lot of people might remember it from that. He was the fight after Tommy McMillan, and he kind of just put on a snoozer. And he beat a guy who was like decent on the regional scene, but nothing special. And I actually watched it back, and I also watched Dana White, when he like hands out the contracts. He's like, look, when I'm watching this fight, there was just nothing that told me I absolutely had to have this guy, so we're going to pass. Right? So everybody else that night got a contract. He didn't. So based on that, a guy that Dana White didn't want to give a contract, not that Dana White's the most into MMA nowadays, right? He's out there playing baccarat and blackjack and power slap and who knows what. But, yeah, man, I'm definitely going to pick Charles Johnson here because if Charles Johnson cannot be the guy making his UFC debut, unfortunately, dude, it's over. It's over, man. Let's get one more run out of Charles Johnson. Give me Charles Johnson to win this fight by finish because I think that Charles Johnson is going to make right with this short notice replacement and show us that, look, man, he's still got something in the bag, albeit we'll never touch the belt. He's too old at this point. Then we've got Dante Johnson taking on Eric McConaughey. Look, this is a sleeper decent fighter because I know Dante Johnson a little bit. I've known him since before the UFC. And the reason why I know who Dante Johnson is before the UFC is because he took on a fellow by the name of James Ford, right? And when he took on James Ford, I knew who James Ford was because the fight before that, he KO'd a guy that I knew in real life at Chicago MMA called Colton Emmerich. Who Colton Emmerich, not to like diss him, but like he's like a big guy, but like really slow. He was a really elite wrestler, but like on the feet, right? Just like slower than hell. And I think he got fucking head kicked by this James Ford guy. Shout out James Ford. Got to watch out for in the future. But yeah, he beat James Ford, who was actually a decent fighter. And then since then, he won his Contender Series fight easily in a matchup that he was set up to win. And then he beat Sadiq Dumas, right, who's a bum. He's the biggest criminal in the UFC. And then Cody Brundage, who's a bum. He looked a little flat. He did look a little bit gassed out. But Cody Brundage is tricky, man. And I definitely got to go with the guy who's training with Sean Strickland now, getting a lot of good work. And he's a real athletic prospect. Like Dante Johnson, he's got a future in this sport, man. I know he does. And Eric McConaughey is a guy who is kind of in the later stages of his career. I mean, he's 36 years old. Is that actually old in fighting in 2026? Not really. Like with modern nutrition and workout plans, right, you can go into your late 30s. But I'm just going to pick the guy Dante Johnson who I've known for a while. Like I knew him pre-UFC. He's a little bit of a banger. He doesn't like do anything that's like super special, but he does have power. I know that he wants this, and he's getting great looks with Sean Strickland's camp. So you kind of just gotta pick him, in my opinion, over Eric McConaughey. Yes, beat Rodolfo Vieira's last time out, but Rodolfo Vieira is on the way out, in my opinion. And Baisangur Susirkaev obviously has been kind of on a roll, so we're not going to fault him too much, but also I had a split decision win against Cody Brundage. So just give me the younger, fresher man. That's really what this is about. And plus, I just like the fact, from my personal perspective, that I like Dante Johnson. That's just giving me some more confidence in him. Because I know that he's been around and he's been putting in the work for a while. Not that Eric hasn't, but this is an up-and-coming guy that definitely has a future in the sport. Then we've got Vicente Luque taking on Tresean Gore. Look, to me, these odds are pretty nutty. And I get it. Like, I get it's hard to trust Vicente Luque, but, like, Vicente Luque is only about 35 years old. In fight years, he's much older. Everybody knows MMA, knows he had the brain bleed against Buckley, I believe it was. Yeah. And then since then, he came back, and everybody was so scared for him, and he schooled Themba Gorimbo. Then he loses to Joel Alvarez, Kevin Holland, but he got to win against old man uncle at the cookout, probably weighs 300 pounds at the recording of this video, Calvin Gastelum. But now he's taking on Tresean Gore, who did get a good comeback win against Azamat Makhachev, who has turned out to be one of the biggest disappointments, I feel like, in the last 12 months of MMA. Before that, he lost to Rodolfo Vieira. He got beat the piss out of him by Marco Tulio, where he showed a great chin and great heart, but then he beat Antonio Tricoli, who I just said is probably the worst one of the worst fighters in the UFC in the last 10 years, period. I'm going to pick Luque here. Only because if we did not have the asterisk of the potential durability issue of Luque, like, we're just going, like, pound for pound skill. Bro, Luque is literally, like, 5 times as good of a fighter as Tresean Gore. So you're basically telling me, okay, Tresean Gore is the favorite here because he might land a random overhand on a chinny Luque, or he might find a front headlock position where he is very nice at getting guillotines. I feel like his last, like, 4 or 5 fights have come by guillotine. Bro, I don't buy it, man. I just think Vicente Luque is just a little bit too talented at mixed martial arts. And as long as that chin holds up, it's hard to believe he's going to lose. Now, could I see Tresean Gore winning a round and having moments? Absolutely. I'm kind of surprised that a lot of people are picking finish here, because this is one of those fights where, like, sneakily, I could see, like, a 29-28 Luque. So that's what I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick Vicente Luque via 29-28, where he probably wins the first 2 rounds, and then maybe Tresean Gore comes on in the last round, but just doesn't have enough to get him out of there. That's kind of how I see this fight going, but I guess we'll see. Then we've got Rafael Tobias against Lucas Fernando. Rafael Tobias is one of the ugliest people I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, no offense, Rafael. Actually, he's in my city. Well, not my city, but my state, so maybe I should pipe down. But if this dude, like, bro, if he popped his head into your window at night, like, I'm just shooting him. Anyways, I'm not promoting violence, but you guys get it. Look, he lost to Jalin Turner, who's actually been a decent streak recently, and he got a win against an absolute bum random on Contender Series. And now he's taking on a guy, Lucas Fernandes, making his UFC debut. In full transparency, I've never actually seen Lucas Fernando fight, but I do know that Rafael Tobias just looks so slow. Like, I can't believe that he's 23 years old. He looked so slow against Jalin Turner. I mean, Jalin Turner, again, is a decent fighter, was just floating on him. And it's like, bro, like, he's just stuck in him, going like this. Like, dude looks like he's off a perk and fucking has cinder blocks attached to his legs. So, I don't know, man. Like, I sound like a total hater. And again, I'm really just memeing just because I really cannot believe he's 23. But I'm going to go Lucas Fernando via mustache and just knowing that Tobias is extremely slow. But again, I don't actually know how good Fernando is, so very tentative. Then we've got, why is this fight so high? Wow. Bro, they really want everybody to open up these prelims. Because they've got Neil Magny against Ramiz Brahimaj going down. And look, Neil Magny, everybody knows who he is, okay? He's as veteran as they come. He's been around a long time, right? He loses to guys that are great. He beats guys that are good to mid. That's the best way to describe Neil Magny's career. He just got destroyed by Amasov, but again, so did Joel Alvarez, who I'm high on. Before that, he beat Jake Matthews in a fight that he really kind of got submitted, but then it was very weird. The ref messed up, and he came back. And then he beat Zaleski Dos Santos to kind of save his career. Before that, he got KO'd by Prates and Morales, who are both in the top 5 of the division right now. That's why I said, he's not beating the great guys, he's beating the good guys. Ramiz Brahimaj is not great. I mean, he's a good submission artist. Yeah, as you can see, all of his wins have come by sub, I believe, except one. All of his wins have come by sub except one. Neil Magny can be submitted, but to me, this seems like a fight that Magny will win. Like, Magny's very tricky, man. He's 6'3" at this division. Okay, he's going to have a big height advantage. I do kind of want to see the face-off, but he's going to have a significant reach advantage at 80 versus 72. I'm going to ride with my fellow Illinois brother, Neil Magny, to get the win here, simply based on the fact that Ramiz Brahimaj does not pose a ton of danger on the feet. Yes, he's got some random power. He's a grown man, but you can't confidently be expecting him to chin Neil Magny, especially at a significant reach disadvantage. And Neil Magny, again, he tends to beat this level of competition. Not elite competition. He is the definition of the gatekeeper at welterweight. I mean, that's what he's been for the last, 5 years. Well, maybe not that long. He just fights all the time, so it feels like it's been 5 years. But, give me Neil Magny to win this fight. Honestly, a fight that I heard, I don't think these odds are correct. I believe I saw that he's actually a pretty big underdog now, which, maybe they know something I don't, but I just think this is the kind of fight that Neil Magny wins. Then to open up the card, again, I told you that they want people to tune into these damn prelims, man. They've got Jeremiah Wells taking on Midabek the Caveman Oralby. Look, people want to see Oralby simply because, yes, he's a good fighter, but also just look at him. I mean, he literally looks like he came out of the Ice Age and he's been frozen, in some ice cube for the last thousands of years. And then here he is. Like, I mean, look at him. I mean, I don't know, but that phenotype is crazy. But, hey, bro, at the end of the day, he's a funny guy and he's a good fighter. So, Midabek Oralby, memes aside and just looking like a caveman, I expect him to get this fight done. Do I think that Oralby is as good as a lot of people seem to hype him up? No. But he's a decent fighter. I mean, he lost to Rebecca in a war. And then, since then, he's had some decent success. He definitely dropped a dud against Chris Curtis. He had a very grappling-heavy approach. And Midabek Oralby is a grappler at heart, but he does have some striking. He's relatively well-rounded, but you've got to think that Oralby is going in here thinking that he needs a finish, especially if he wants a shot into the top 15 at a stacked welterweight division. Jeremiah Wells is like kind of a well-rounded guy. He's not bankrupt on the feet. He's got a little bit of power, right? But outside of King, like Court McGee 4 years ago, it's just hard to pick a guy whose best win in the last 3 years is Themba Gorimbo against a guy like Midabek Oralby, who's on a 3-fight win streak and actually has a reason to have some hype. So give me Midabek Oralby to win this fight quite confidently. I'm going to say by finish because I don't expect him to want to drop another dud because, in my opinion, that could be bad for the outlook of his career. Maybe they'll give him some killer at welterweight and he might get messed up, man. So that's going to do it for the picks and predictions. Super excited for this card. And yeah, man, like it's going to be a great time. I will be releasing a video tomorrow that'll be covering Makhachev and Garry in depth. Okay, you guys are going to want to see that one. And then I will also eventually be releasing my pick of the week. So stay tuned for that. But at the end of the day, it's a Maximus MMA. Please like, comment, subscribe if you have not already, and I'll see you in the next one.